You know, the greatest strategic failure in sales is believing a large purchase requires a large pitch. But what if that's all wrong? What if the entire battle is won at the lowest friction point, with just a single, small yes that psychologically hooks the buyer and pulls them toward the final big purchase? Well, today we're going to break down the story funnel framework. It's a system designed to turn that exact idea into a powerful, high-converting sales engine. Let's get into it.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with the core psychological twist that makes this whole thing work. Then we'll look at the brain's natural defenses, and more importantly, how a good story can sneak right past them. From there, we'll build the actual engine for turning these stories into sales, cover the absolute must-do rules for getting it right, and finish up with the one unforgettable idea that is the real goal of this entire process.
So let's jump right in with this kind of counterintuitive idea that the biggest, most important sales battles, they're not won with a big, final, forceful push. No, they're won with a gentle initial pull. It's really all about winning the war before the other side even knows a battle has started.
This right here, this is the core premise we're unpacking today. I mean, think about it. Traditional sales wisdom, it tells you to build this massive argument for a big ask. But let's be honest, in a world where everyone is skeptical and drowning in information, that approach just doesn't work anymore. It's broken. All it does is put you and your customer on opposite sides of the table from the get-go.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. What if we just flip the whole strategy on its head? Instead of aiming for that huge, high-pressure yes at the very end, we focus on getting a tiny, almost effortless yes right at the beginning. Just an agreement on a shared problem or a common belief. Why? Because that one little nod, that one tiny agreement, it triggers something incredibly powerful in the human brain.
And this is it. This is the secret sauce, commitment bias. It's a fundamental part of how we're wired. Once we say yes to something small, our brain scrambles to stay consistent with that choice. It wants to avoid feeling like a hypocrite. So that first small yes, it's not just an agreement. It's your customer subconsciously creating a new identity for themselves. And the final purchase? Well, that just becomes the totally logical, inevitable end to a story they already chose to be a part of.
So you might be thinking, okay, if this is so powerful, why isn't everybody doing it? And the answer really lies in the crisis of modern persuasion. We are all living behind this massive wall of skepticism, a defense mechanism we've all built up after years and years of being bombarded by ads.
You see, when you lead with facts, figures, data, all that logical stuff, you're basically walking up to the front gate of a fortress and loudly announcing you're there to sell something. You're talking directly to the guards, the conscious, critical, skeptical part of the brain. Immediately, the alarms go off, the defenses go up, and your message gets put under a microscope, and usually it gets thrown out.
And this lays out the difference perfectly. On one side, you have the logical pitch. That's the frontal assault on the castle gate. It's all about pressure, and it just begs for skepticism. But on the other side, the story pitch, that's like knowing the secret password to a side door. It's focused on emotion, it builds trust, and it completely sidesteps that whole defense system.
So how exactly do we get invited in? How do we get that secret password? Well, this is where the deep psychology of narrative comes into play. We're not just telling stories to be entertaining here. We are using them as a very precise tool to create a state of psychological acceptance. This is the whole key right here, narrative transportation. You know that feeling when you're watching a great movie or reading a book you can't put down and the world just disappears? That's it. Your brain stops critiquing and starts experiencing. That skeptical guard at the front gate, he's so lost in the story you're telling that he's completely forgotten he's on duty. And your message, it just walks right in, uncontested. And believe it or not, it goes even deeper than that. This isn't just a mental trick, it's actual brain chemistry. A well-told story, especially one with characters and conflict we can relate to, literally causes our brain to release oxytocin. You've probably heard of it as the trust hormone. It's the chemical that underpins human bonding. So when your audience feels this, they don't just think you're trustworthy, they have a chemical reaction that makes them feel it. So what you get is this incredible trust multiplier effect. All those positive feelings, that chemical bond you created with the story, it doesn't just fade away. It transfers directly onto you, the storyteller, your brand. The story basically becomes a Trojan horse for trust, carrying it past the walls of skepticism and delivering it straight to your solution. Okay, the psychology is fascinating, right? But how do we make this practical? How do we make it repeatable and not just a one-off stroke of luck? That is where the narrative conversion engine comes in.
It's a system for taking all this theory and aligning it with real-world business goals. And here it is. It's so elegant. You're taking a classic 3-act story structure and mapping it directly onto a sales funnel. Step 1. Define the villain to create awareness. Step 2. Introduce a game-changing insight to drive consideration. And Step 3. Present your solution as the only logical resolution, aiming straight for conversion. Every piece of the story has a job.
All right, let's break this down. Phase 1 is all about empathy. And crucially, the story does not start with you or your product. It starts with your customer and their struggle. By giving a name to the villain, the frustrating status quo, the flawed old way of doing things, you instantly show them, hey, I get it, I understand your fight. This simple act makes them the hero of the story and creates the urgency they need to listen to what comes next.
Now this is the pivotal moment in the entire narrative. The hero and villain are set, and now you, the brand, enter the story. But, and this is critical, you don't show up as another hero trying to steal the spotlight. You enter as the wise guide. You're the Obi-Wan Kenobi who has discovered a secret, a unique insight that changes everything. This is where you sell the belief in a better way, long before you ever mention a product.
And only now, in the final act, does your product finally make an appearance. See, it's not the star of the show. It's the tool that makes the resolution possible. It's the lightsaber the guide gives the hero so they can finally defeat the villain. So the call to action, the ask, it's no longer a pushy sales pitch. It's just the logical, inevitable next step for the hero to complete their journey.
Okay, so we have the system. But to really master it, to make it work every time, there are a few rules that are absolutely non-negotiable. Getting these right is what separates a cute story from a genuine, high-converting asset.
These are the 3 pillars. First, and I can't say this enough, the customer is always the hero. Always. Second, the villain can't be vague. It has to be a clear external enemy, the status quo they're fighting. And third, nothing in your story is accidental. Every single piece of the narrative has to be intentionally mapped to a specific business goal.
I really want to pause on this for a second, because this is the single biggest mindset shift you have to make. If your brand is the hero, you're just another company bragging. No one cares. But if your customer is the hero, you become their trusted guide, their mentor. You empower them, and that creates a kind of loyalty that goes way beyond just one sale. So let's bring this all home. Let's boil this entire framework down to its absolute essence. In a world full of noise and chaos, why does this very disciplined, creative structure work so incredibly well? The real reason this system is so effective is that it is a weapon against noise and complexity. The number one enemy of any message today is a scattered brain. This framework forces you to be ruthlessly clear. It reduces your entire pitch down to one powerful, simple, emotional idea. It makes your message efficient, memorable, and incredibly easy for an overloaded brain to process.
And that is the ultimate takeaway. The goal here isn't to push people through a funnel, it's to pull them toward value with a single idea that gets lodged in their mind. An idea so powerful and resonant that they simply cannot forget it. An idea that perfectly captures their struggle and your unique ability to guide them through it.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Forget your features, your data, your talking points, just for a moment. If you could plant only one idea in your customer's mind, an idea they can't shake, an idea that reframes their entire problem and positions you as their only guide, what would that idea be? Because answering that question, that isn't just a marketing tactic, it's the very foundation of a story that can change everything.